What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to snipe faster. This is a question that is probably one of the #1 questions I actually get on my channel. People, on older Xboxes, new Xboxes, and PC asking, how do I snipe faster? How do I win more snipes on the auction house? And we're going to definitely talk about that today and brush through just some of the things that I've heard, some of the tips I've heard, some of the tips I use myself, and just overall, a ton of stuff that basically is going to hopefully help you guys snipe more cars and snipe at a faster rate. We're going to start off with newer gen Xboxes, old gen Xboxes, and then we're going to go into PC. I believe PC has the most options that are proven for sniping faster, and then there is some on the Xboxes that are talked about pretty widely often as things that do help snipe. So on newer gen Xboxes, I can't really show this to you because I don't have an Xbox, but there is something called performance mode. It is in your video settings. You go jump over into the settings, jump over to your video settings, and you turn on performance mode, and this will basically make it so your game is less pretty and runs faster and smoother. This is going to make it so that your menus go faster. Obviously, a lot of you guys talk about how my menus are much faster than most normal people's menus. That's because I'm on PC and for a plethora of reasons that I'm going to get into in a second. But performance mode is going to help you get a competitive edge on the competition, especially with people that you're competing with on your own consoles and stuff like that. Other than performance mode, a lot of people have talked about the fact that you can use a default car. A lot of people used to go for the POP 50 with no paint job or anything like that, or any random car like this Alpine or whatever that basically just has no paint job, nothing fancy done to it, just a super plain old, not much detail, not much texture, small cars without much artwork going on and stuff like that, just to limit the amount of graphics processing that your system has to do and that your Xbox has to do in order to display everything to you. And by limiting that graphics processing, you're going to get more FPS, which is allow you to or more consistent FPS, which is going to allow you to snipe more consistently and at a faster rate. Also, make sure to snipe in your house. A lot of people actually say to snipe in the festival. A lot of people say to snipe in your house. From my own experience, when I was sniping in the festival, everything was slower. Menus, loading, everything was much slower when I was in the festival. But the second I switched over to my house, everything started to speed up quite a bit, and there was actually a noticeable difference in the speed at which I was sniping. That being said, a lot of people will say, oh, there's too much scenery in the background at the house. Make sure you're not at one of those houses that has a huge, expansive, wide background. I'm not sure if the one I'm at right now has a crazy background. Yeah, so this one has a little bit of an overwhelming background, but I maybe the ocean is less graphics rendering than other stuff. But find a house that doesn't have a lot going on around it, doesn't have a lot of textures that it has to process, and run with that, and it should increase your sniping speed for sure. You can see actually once I went into Forza Vista that my FPS saw a little bit of a drop there for a second. I think it went down to 90 FPS actually, but once I'm in here, it actually raises and it's a little more consistent. But yeah, that is something that you guys can all try out on the newer gen Xboxes. For old gen Xboxes, all of these tips are going to apply except for performance mode. I know a lot of you guys talk about that you can't get performance mode, and that's probably the biggest impact you're going to have, is not being able to use that. On older gen Xboxes, when it comes to sniping, there is no magic sauce, but just know that sniping is basically a game of timing. So what that means is, when a car gets posted on the auction house, like a LaFerrari, right, for a snipeable price, if everybody, say 5 people are opening this menu at the exact same time, but everybody's off by like 0.01 milliseconds, right, or whatever the time is, there's a gap between each person opening it relatively around the same time. No matter what you're on, when that car gets posted, it could get say each of the 5 people are sniping at our numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is a weird example, but this is just coming off the top of my head. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, say that person, X person, or whatever is posting this car. That car could pop up in the interval that person number 3 is opening their auction house, number 1 and 2 already opened it, so the car isn't there yet. Number 3 opens it and they're the first person to see it, and then number 4 and 5 open it, but they're like, half a second behind person number 3 opening it. That half a second is enough time for you to become an expert at doing the whole sequence of opening these up, pressing your auction options, hitting buy out, and then hitting yes. That is enough time. That half a second is enough time for a person who becomes an expert at doing that to win that auction. And that's where it becomes based off of timing. So if you're on an old gen Xbox, you can snipe based on timing. Hope that you're the person who gets that time. You know what I mean? And that's something that you can bank on. Snipe less sniped cars, less popular cars. The LaFerrari is probably not the best car for somebody on an old gen console to snipe. But you know what gets sniped a lot less? The Unicorn V2. You know what gets sniped a lot less? The Koenigsegg CCGT. I mean, there's a lot of options out there for you guys to snipe. It's just, not being picky. No pun intended. Don't be picky. Look around. Find different cars to snipe. Find different things that can make you money. I've posted lots of videos that are top 10 cars to snipe. Top 10 cars to snipe. That means you do not have to snipe numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can snipe numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's tons of options out there. You do not have to snipe the most widely sniped car. Use what you have and be successful with what you have. Moving on to PC, this is the biggest one as far as tips that I can give out. Now, there is a lot of options with this, and there's so many different ways to speed up your sniping. So there's actually something called animated backgrounds, which is by far a big one when it comes to increasing your sniping success. All right, there we go. I finally found it. Inaccessibility, moving backgrounds. You can turn this off, and basically, like we talked about, there's the backgrounds when you're in the house or in the festival. This basically shuts that off. Now, keep in mind, makes the game look very ugly, right? Makes the game look very ugly and very bright. So if you're not, a big fan of the super bright screen, obviously being in your eyes and stuff like that, this might not be the thing for you. But you can see it makes this default background. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, and it is kind of awkward when you do this all day, and it kind of spazzes out. But you got to do what you got to do to win snipes. So this does speed it up. You can obviously see this increases the animation speed by a ridiculous amount. I mean, look how fast this is. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous how fast this is. Clearly it has to load less, so it goes much faster if you're looking to win snipes. I mean, this is 100% the way to go. I mean, you'll probably never lose again, but I couldn't personally do it just because it was bugging me so much. But yeah, animated backgrounds. The other huge thing, dial down your graphics settings a lot. Like a lot. I mean, this was by far one of the biggest effects that I've had on sniping, was just dialing down my graphics. When I was playing on, for a while, a lot of you guys know I was playing on extreme and ultra and stuff like that, and then I dialed it back to medium, and it was life-changing as far as sniping goes. The game doesn't look as nice, but it was life-changing as far as sniping goes. Increase those menu times by, an extraordinary amount. It was absolutely amazing as far as performance. Another thing that I did personally that increased my game performance quite a lot was putting my game in an SSD. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a solid state drive. It's basically, a different type of drive for your computer. There's also hard drives, HDD. I had my game on my HDD, which is like a 4 terabyte hard drive. And then I have a 1 terabyte SSD on my computer. So I actually put my game on my SSD instead of my hard drive, and the solid state drives are known for basically being faster. So all my menus, loading times, all that stuff is much faster by being on an SSD. So if you do have an SSD and do have the ability to do that, put your game on an SSD. And then there obviously is the other tips that we talked about in Xbox that apply to PC the same. using a default car of sorts, and making sure you're sniping in your house and not in the festival. These are all things that are going to work for increasing your sniping time. And then PC obviously has the special things like the animated backgrounds, putting it on SSD, dialing down your settings, and that's what makes PCs faster than Xbox and stuff like that. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.